The dust is settled. Valve is releasing a card game based on the Dota IP, and people are becoming used to this idea. According to the higher-ups in the Dota community, NDAs have been signed and people have played it months ago. So the community is in a weird spot. The people who would normally be reporting on Artifact are at the International, and some are behind NDAs. So where are we going to get this information now? Now, since the announcement, I have been looking everywhere and asking anyone for any information possible, and some has been found. First, understand that this game is announced with an unspecific 2018, and Valve time may play into the release. However, following the announcement and subsequent rage and disappointment, I attempted to get into contact with someone at Valve with connections to the team. After all the emails, I found that Jeep Barnett is part of the Artifact team. And also, if you remember an interview that he did back in February of this year, he states,
yeah, me, Dave, and Paul are actually all in the same game right now.
Oh, right, okay, I didn't realize Paul was
so
as well. Okay.
hopefully that comes out soon, we'll see.
So, David Kircher and Paul Graham from Nuclear Monkey Software, who were hired to create what would become Portal, are on the team. Paul being an artist, and like Jeep, David being a programmer. It is possible that the project Jeep was working on in February is not the same project that he is working on now. In fact, everyone assumes that he was part of the VR team due to his work in the lab. So that brings the possible team number to 3. Also, David Kircher is subscribed to Valve News Network. Hi Dave. Next, once Artifact was officially announced, an official Twitter was opened. They still have only answered a single question after asking people to talk to them. 2 people immediately tweeted about being on the team. Number 1, Brad Muir, gameplay programmer and former Double Fine project lead on many games, including strategy game Massive Chalice. He came to Valve in late 2015, and according to a Giant Bomb article titled Brad Muir's Top 10 Games of 2016, he lists Hearthstone and Dota 2 as 2 of his favorites. Number 2, writer Steve Jaros. In a time where most well-known Valve writers have left for many rumored reasons, Mr. Jaros joined Valve as a writer in 2014 after leaving Volaton, where he was the creative director of all Saints Row games. And over the next couple of hours, Jaros tweeted a few things. It had been a long time since a game that he had worked on actually got announced. Saints Row Gat Outta Hell, which had Steve Jaros as the lead writer, was announced in August of 2014. What have you been working on that didn't get announced, and then you moved to another project before that was announced? Mr. Jaros is focused on world building and storytelling. He explains how his work is highly collaborative with the Dota team, although he has been given much room to breathe. Speculation. There's probably going to be a single-player story-driven campaign that world builds more than anything before in Dota 2's history. Good luck on that, Mr. Jaros. I'm not sure if he means a separate design team or not. However, if everybody talks to both design and Brad, then Brad must be quite a spearhead on the project. Speculation. Brad came to Valve with the idea of a card game, prototyped it, and eventually got a team together. Seeing how Jeep most likely finished his work on the lab in the late summer or early fall of 2016, it has been in at least higher production since then. However, Mr. Muir is not the project lead. That goes to Brandon Reinhardt. On August 10th, Steam Database caught wind of an alleged leak of a Google slide presentation showing off the card design for Artifact. Now, whether or not it's legitimate, I retweeted the story just to get some more information. This may be unrelated, but only a few minutes after I retweeted this leaked story, Valve software engineer Brandon Reinhardt followed my official Twitter account. I immediately send him a question asking if he has anything to do with the Artifact team, as I've been doing with every Valve contact I have over the last few days. And he responds that he is the project lead. I then ask when we can expect the basic business information on the game, and he says, quote, "We will be releasing a lot more information about Artifact, but first we need to finish the International, and then we need to have a move into a new office building to complete." For those unaware, Valve announced it would be moving to a larger office earlier this year, set for July 22nd, 2017. When that date came and went, it became known that the move was delayed until September. So expect info once Valve has settled into the new place. And that brings the Artifact team up to 6 known members. Programmers Jeep Barnett, David Kircher, project lead Brandon Reinhardt, which those people are most likely the design referenced in Steve Jaros' tweet, gameplay designer Brad Muir, writer Steve Jaros, and artist Paul Graham. Also remember that Day 9 gave a few details on the game immediately following its announcement on the International livestream. 3 active game boards are used to represent the lanes on a Dota 2 map. Most likely the player switches between them, possibly having to make strategic decisions which board should get most attention, or they're just all displayed at the same time and they're less like boards and more like rows. Each player has 5 hero cards, which can be deployed to the 3 boards as they wish, and the player can most likely switch the heroes around the 3 different boards, which we're going to refer to as lanes for the rest of the video. Once a hero is deployed to the lanes, however, it probably cannot be called back until they are killed by an enemy hero or a creep, and most likely there will be a couple of turns before they can be replayed into the lanes, the card game equivalent of respawn time. The question I have then, is there hero buyback with gold? On each lane, creeps spawn every turn, which players can likely use their AP or points or whatever the player energy is called to kill the creeps for gold. Killing opponents can also gain gold, but more than creeps. Each hero also has an ability, possibly more as they level up, and can cast the abilities onto specific lanes or all the lanes, or it probably depends on the specific ability. The example given was Bounty Hunter casting Track on an enemy. Thinking how Track works, each hero has their own gold pot, and Track allows the player to see a single hero's gold. Also, killing the hero that has Track applied will gain more gold. How Track's true sight or movement speed bonuses will be translated is unknown, however, it's likely that the abilities are not going to be direct ports, but instead will only share the basic premise and the name. Item cards are bought instead of drawn, and it raises questions on how deck building, if any exists in the game, works. Do the specific item cards in the deck get sent to shop or secret shop equivalents for purchase? And only those item cards? Improvement cards were also mentioned, and these act as spell or magic cards from any other game, which cast effects on different lanes. In an anecdote of a specific match, Day9 states that he was building barracks on a lane, and that he was flooding the opponent with creeps. These barracks, are they building cards? Are they drawn? Does each player have an ancient with HP that ticks down when attacked, and players can build towers in specific lanes that can distract or even block enemy heroes? Also, the player casts creeps, so each turn they have to pick which lanes receive creeps and in what amount. Another large point making rounds is the idea of the game truly being a trading card game, as the Steam community market and trades will allow for players to create an economy around the game. This will likely lead to an unusual or knife equivalent, and also third-party websites to fill niches. And based on Valve's past with CSGO and skins, they will likely want to control parts of the market from the beginning to avoid this huge issue. Lastly is information on Artifact's engine. Lately, Valve has developed for both Unity and Source 2, and although VP of PR for Valve, Doug Lombardi, hammered home that Source 2 is the future of all products, Artifact's engine has not been announced or confirmed. Well, found in a recent update for Dota 2 is the reference line DOTA Card Game Client 001. If in Source 2, which it looks like, there are a few major questions that are raised. Is there a dedicated Source 2 team getting the engine working on mobile to allow Artifact to compete within the digital card game market? Does Valve even want to compete? Does the game hold a VR mode, and if so, does it count towards one of Valve's 3 VR titles? Hopefully the Artifact team can straighten out the community, as announcing a game with just a teaser, no real gameplay, is something I would never expect to happen from Valve. When it does come time for them to talk about the details, let's hope they are vast and incredibly understandable, because all the community needs is a glimpse of quality, and the general opinion will change. And that was everything that is currently known about Valve's new game, Artifact. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to this channel because I'm now reporting on Dota 2 stuff properly, then feel free to subscribe. I do a whole lot of stuff. Go check stuff out. And thank you very much for watching. I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Valve News Network. Check out my Twitter if you want to be able to keep up with all the news networks going on, and have a good day. Adios.